Mauritius investing in higher education. In this edition, we talk to the Vice Chancellor of the University of Mauritius, the largest public university in the country, as he gives his views of the crucial need to train for the future. We also meet representatives of foreign universities who are in Mauritius to counsel future students under the aegis of the OVEC, Overseas Education Center.
HSC results are out and many young Mauritians are opting for higher education. As we know, tertiary education is free in Mauritius in all public institutions after what Prime Minister announced on the 1st of January this year. Professor Jury, University of Mauritius is the largest public university in Mauritius. Recently there's been this announcement of free tertiary education, and the University of Mauritius being the largest public university in Mauritius, how are you adapting to these new changes?
Well, I think we are set. We are now looking into the recruitment at undergraduates. We had the open days on 12th, 13th and 14th of February. We already monitoring. We see a lot of students applying for a seat at the University of Mauritius. Let me answer your question to say that first, there is not a big change at the university. We used to be a non-tuition fee-paying university, so we're not charging fees per se. We charge general fees. This has been capped at 10,000. So all students joining the university will have to disburse 10,000 rupees. The government will refund the university for whatever surplus fees that the university claim. Usually for the non-science students we claim general fees 20,000, and for the science students we claim science and engineering we used to claim 27,500. So that will be reimbursed by the government. Now, coming to how this has changed the scene, I will say that this was an opportunity for us to rationalize and consolidate the programs that we offer at undergraduate level. Very often what we were doing in the past, we were offering a number of programs non-fee paying, and I would say literally duplicating those programs fee paying. Now what we've done is we try to rationalize. We try to increase our intake in the flagship programs from 40 to 60, in some cases from 30 to 60. So we increase the intake to give a chance to more students to get on the non-fee paying programs. And also what we try to do is, of course, to develop new programs that will align with the objectives of the country and the kind of areas that we want to promote.
Generally talking about tertiary education in Mauritius, okay, government is announcing free tertiary education. It will subsidize the fees that need to be covered, and this is an investment. Why should we be investing in tertiary education?
Well, let me go back to a country like South Korea. South Korea has got a tertiary enrollment of over 80%. This is one of the countries in the world. This is number one in the world, right? Look at the development of South Korea. South Korea in the early 1970s was just like any country not developed. South Korea invested massively in science and technology. Today, we know the big companies. We know Samsung. We know all of them. We know LG. We know all of those big companies that are able to establish themselves thanks to South Korea's investments. Now, our country is willing to get out of the middle income trap and wants to champion an innovation economy. How do we do that without knowledge? We need to invest in knowledge, and we need more people at higher levels. When I say we need more people at higher levels, don't get me wrong, I'm not only talking of people coming to the university. Of course, we have also the polytechnics. This is, I truly believe, that this is also an area where we have to invest, where we have to train the skilled technicians that can get jobs. We're not talking only of training high-level master's students that will go to PhD level, or training researchers. We're talking also of training those kind of people. So I think if you look at the government's measure, it covers all these segments. So if we are able to increase our tertiary enrollment from at present 44% to a higher percentage, I think that will benefit Mauritius.
Mm-hmm. Now, we often hear that industry says there are not enough people qualified for their sectors, and academics are producing more graduates. So is this just for the sake of having a degree, graduating, or do we need to counsel those young people to guide them towards new fields which need to be developed?
True. I mean, see, the way universities look at training has changed. Previously, universities were training students and imparting to them knowledge. Universities had nothing to do whether the students get a job or not. Today, universities are assessed on whether they are producing graduates that are employable. That's why we come up with market survey. We try to, each year come up with what is the rate of employment of our students within 6 months, within a year. This becomes a duty. The role of universities now have to not only help the students in terms of knowledge, but also get the students in terms of skills. Skills that make them readily employable by industry. So we should produce students that are ready for the world of work. And we're striving for that. We've put in place a lot of measures to increase the employability of our students. As from August 2019, we will be switching to the learner-centered credit system. In other words, people say, what is that? How is credit system going to change the scene? Well, the learner credit system is not a 45-hour module where you will teach just spoon feed the students. In that system, you give the student enough time to do independent learning. You use novel technologies to do your teaching. You also enable the students to spend time in industry, to do internships. Why do you do that? Because you want the student not only to get the knowledge, but to also get the skills. So this is what we are doing. We're the first university in this country, public university, to have switched to this learner-centered credit system, which is in fact well known as the European Credit Transfer System. So we hope that we'll produce better graduates. And also graduates that are fit for the world of work.
Earlier, you referred to South Korea, which has invested heavily in research, in development, science, and in tertiary education. So where do you think Mauritius can inspire itself from these countries, the big countries, and develop its human resources?
Yeah, we have always been a country that has looked towards agriculture. We are not talking of traditional agriculture. Agriculture remains a sector that is of importance to our country. We're talking in the world of food security. We're talking of producing better with less. In other words, using biotechnology. We're also talking of something very important. We're talking of digital agriculture. Today we are still let's say at industry agriculture 1.0, if we use the same this analogy with industry 4.0, well, agriculture, we're talking about agriculture 4.0. People are using sensors. You just go to Tanzania, Kenya, you see there, agriculture farmers, agriculture people, they're using sensors to look at the humidity, in the soil, and whether they should irrigate or not. Here we're talking of a lot of problems, in terms of water supply. So the new techniques, new technology can help, the farmers produce much better. So agriculture, in my opinion, remains a key sector. It's obvious that the world is, we're living in an era of data. So we can't say we are outside data. So that era of data pervades across a lot of sectors. We can have the health sector, which produces a lot of data. Digitalize our health sector. We're talking of data in also the transport sector. We can't accept in 2019 that we need 3 policemen at each roundabout to control traffic in the morning or in the afternoon. Most of the countries have got the technology and are using it to control traffic using sensors. Or using AI, artificial intelligence. So these are sectors that we need to invest. We're talking of robotics. We're talking very recently of fintech, blockchain. That we're taking the lead into organizing a lot of workshops into this area. So kind of preparing, our people to tomorrow find jobs in those sectors.
Now, we're talking about graduation, people learning, higher studies and all that thing. Now, what they do next? What about where they find work or invest in business or export our expertise? What about those areas?
Well, 2 years ago, we coined that vision of developing a research-engaged and entrepreneurial university. The reason why we did that, it's a lot of thoughtful exercise. We haven't come to this by copying what others are doing. We really took into account our ecosystem, our environment and the local context when we reached that vision of a research engaged and entrepreneurial. It's highly important. When you look at the millennials, you see that those young people do not share the same ideas as the previous generation. These people want to work on their own. They want to develop things. They've got the drive. They are living a world of data. The way they see things is totally different from the way we see things. They are real entrepreneurs. We need to give them the right ecosystem. Let me give you 2 examples of what we're doing at the university to promote these things. We are, for example, developing the Agri-Tech Park. Now people say, well, you develop the Agri-Tech Park, what for? In fact, over and above getting collaborations with industry, we want to give the right ecosystem to our students to be able to develop the ideas. On the Agri-Tech Park, we want to set up an agri-processing incubator. If you've got an idea to transform raw agro-material into something which has more added value, you need to be able to test it. So we're giving the possibility to our students to come and use these things. It's not yet set, we're still in the process of getting it, but once it will be set up, our students will be able to do that. Not only our students, but also the public can come and use our resources. Second example, we're also helping our students develop new ideas in the digital world into the area of infotainment. We are also looking at other areas, 3D printing. You can do marvelous things using 3D printing. You can, sky's the limit in terms of the number of things that you can do. So we are promoting entrepreneurship. This is very important for our country. I can see if we support these people, we should see changes, in the years to come in those areas such as, blockchain, robotics. These are areas that interest young people. But also in the banking and finance, we can't do things as we used to do them. Again, I would not mention, the modern agriculture. These are areas where I think Mauritius can make a difference.
As tertiary education becomes more accessible to Mauritians, the choice also grows wider for various fields of study. Some specializations need to be acquired in foreign land, and students need to know where they can find the best match. Various counseling institutions are here to help and assist students and their parents in choosing a suitable tertiary education abroad. OVEC, the Overseas Education Center found in Mocha, has been advising parents and students since 20 years, and they can see changes in the trend as Mauritians rate Canada and Australia higher for tertiary education. Mrs. Corinne Osman from the Waterloo University from Canada. So basically now we see Mauritians wanting to go to Canada. And what has made Canada become like this?
I believe opportunity for quality of education and work after post-education attracts Mauritian students to go there. Also very multicultural society, welcoming students from all cultures, making it possible for students to call Canada their home, availability of space, fresh water, air, lifestyle. There are many reasons why people choose Canada. Certainly cold weather is not one of them, but that weather is also very easily solved by warm buildings, warm cars, warm transportation. Students pay less attention to weather but more attention to quality of opportunities for education and for work. And we have what is called cooperative education, where students spend 6 terms working and putting their work, their learning into work, experiential learning, which actually is in almost all institutions in Canada. I'm not unique in the opportunities I provide at University of Waterloo. I want to tell you one thing, one statement. Quality of education in Canada is universally good. It will be cost factor, location factor, the kind of degree they want to do. Waterloo has become very popular because of the 6 terms of cooperative education.
So we're going to move to Humber, Mr. Alexander Propenko. So what are you proposing to Mauritian students?
Well, I just wanted to build on what Karuna was saying, is that I think the attractiveness of Canadian education system is the multiple entry and exit points for students at various levels of their studies and their career development. So therefore, whether you just finished high school or you already had some post-secondary education, there are many options for you to continue developing your academic standards, developing your career. And I think the great flexibility of Canadian education system allows students to come in and come out at various points of their academic level and to advance their career. So that is what's so attractive in my understanding. Mm-hmm. And in terms of Humber Institute of Technology, we're a hybrid between a college and university. So we applied strong fundamentals in terms of academic studies and lots of applied opportunities for students, applied learning opportunities for students to get practical work experience before they graduate. We are a comprehensive post-secondary institution located in Toronto, home to a very large Mauritius community. I happened to visit City Hall of Toronto last year when there was a flag-raising ceremony. It was great to see so many of your countrymen joining everybody. Doesn't matter how cold it was. I think it was January. Everybody were dressed warm and everybody were enjoying the Mauritius moment downtown Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Now we move to the Kwantland Polytechnic University, Mr. Rodolfo Torresan. What is the difference between a university and polytechnic?
Well, a polytechnic type of studies were very hands-on applied learning. So we teach students on professional careers and we prepare them for the work market. Different than traditional university, who are some of them are very focused on the academy, on the research.
Mm-hmm. And for Mauritians to go to Canada and to adapt, living in Mauritius, a small island, tropical island, you see sea everywhere, and go into a big country where you have to travel a lot to see what we see. So how do you see it? Do people really adapt easily?
They do, actually. Our university is based on the west coast, the metro region of Vancouver. We have about 2.5 million, and it's a region surrounded by nature. So we have mountains, oceans, and rivers all over the place. It's not as cold as people may think. The average temperature during winter is about 7 degrees. So it's fairly easy to adapt. I myself came from Brazil about 4 years ago as a student, and right after graduation, ended up getting a job with KPU, and here I am.
So, Mr. Ernest Demali, you were just talking about students adapting, but inside the university, is there any kind of facilities offered to the student to accompany them on the university?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to use myself as an example. I did grow up in Ghana, so I came to Canada as an international student myself. The transition, especially for University of Guelph, it's one that I highly recommend because even generally within most institutions within Canada, so just to add voice to what my colleagues were saying, there is that room that we receive diversity, but also I help the students right from the time they get online through the student services, right till they complete. In my experience at the University of Guelph, I definitely speak highly of the Office of Intercultural Affairs. So having been an international student, so everything, I've had quite a number of students come. So how can I translate when I come? Is there a possibility to apply for permanent residency? It's absolutely yes, because I went through the same system. The most important thing is I encourage students, once you get in on the land, just focus to complete your degree, because once you are done, there is a process well laid out from immigration where you can apply for your post-graduation work permit. Within the period of the 3 years or 2 years, depending on what you receive, then you can start towards your permanent residency.
Okay, let's go to Australia now. Australia is very popular for Mauritian students, and according to you, and Monash as well is very well known in Mauritius. According to you, what has made this very popular?
Well, one of the key reasons I think in Mauritius is that there is a very large Mauritian community in Melbourne. And so Monash and also the University of Melbourne have become very, very popular in Australia. Like Canada, Australia is a very welcoming country. You will find that 1 in 3 people was not born in Australia, and 1 in 3 people, their parents were not born in Australia. So it's a very inclusive and welcoming community. Students can stay and work in Australia when they have finished, which is also a draw card. But I think one of the major things is that most of the universities see employability as a key to success. And so they work very closely with industry to ensure that students will be employable when they graduate.
And well, what about the quality of the courses, the quality of education provided by the
Quality
university?
of education is high, and to come back to Monash, for example, we are a member of the Group of 8, and the Group of 8 are the top 8 research universities in the country, and I think that's another reason students will go there. But I think the draw card for Monash is the fact that it has double degrees. So with 1 year extra study, students can come out with 2 separate degrees, which means they can either continue to follow their interests until they're a little older and know what they want to do, or they can strategically say, if I do this degree and this degree as a double degree, I'm more employable, I have a broader skills base.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, they have of course the support of the Mauritian community.
Mr. Gary G. So from China we see is becoming popular right now, and of course we've got this relationship between China and Mauritius, government to government, which is providing scholarships and all that. But what do you see during the years you've been here? How do you see the movement of Mauritian students towards China?
You know, because of the two nations relationship, and then the road and the Belt Initiative, I think more Mauritian students are coming to China, and the Chinese government provides Mauritian students with a lot of generous scholarships for them to study in the country, and then our university is kind of like a joint venture university between the UK and the Chinese university. So this offers students a lot opportunity to get a UK degree at a very quite comparatively lower price after they graduate from the university. And that's at the same time because we are in the east of China, so this area is more developed and compared to the other parts of China. So it offers the students the currently I think the opportunities to intern in the companies, something like that, and then at the same time because we are providing students with the understanding China courses and then Chinese language courses. So we prepare them to be, for example, in the future, the Chinese ambassadors in their home countries to strengthen the relationships between the two countries and more networking, broaden broaden the networkings between the two countries or something like that.
You see, in China, we used to think that language is an important barrier. And how do you accompany them to break this barrier?
Actually, the courses, the programs are taught in English, 100% of them. At the same time, we offer students, free Chinese languages to prepare them to have a better life in China when they stay there. And then in daily life now, I don't know whether you heard of, for example, Alibaba, Tmall, or in JD, and the Didi, Chinese version of Uber. So life in China is quite easy, I think. Students can use the English version app on their mobile phone, and then most of the time, I don't think the students have any problem with living in China, communication with the other people, and the location. We are in the east of China. It is more developed, so we have a lot of foreigners living, working in that part of China. So it is easy to communicate with foreigners and even the local people, because the education level is quite higher.
Daoudou, you are promoting the Cologne business school in Mauritius. Just like I said, German is not the main language we speak here. Not one of the main language, at least. English and French is mostly. So what could be attractive to Mauritians who want to go to study in Germany?
Yeah, actually, to study in Germany, you must not necessarily have to study in German. We are a university whereby we offer study programs completely in English, but then we support our students also to learn German language alongside their study. So it means even for Mauritians, it's become more attractive because you're coming from a place where you could speak English and French. So by the time you get to Germany and you're able to study in English and then acquire the German language, then the sky is your limit. So currently in Germany, the educational standard is of high quality. Germany is known for technology, innovation, research and development, and they're actually using education to drive all this in the economy. And I'm sure that people coming to acquire the German education will be able to stand anywhere in the world to compete for any role. And that's what Germany offers. And we are also one of the top business schools in Germany. The quality of education at our university is well recognized worldwide. And then I can assure students that if you have acquired a degree from the CBS Cologne Business School, you would fit perfectly into any job role afterwards.
Right now, we're seeing Eurozone is going through a slowdown. They have forecast the growth. And will that have impact on the education sector as well?
The German economy has always been very, very buoyant. They've got what it takes to drive the country for the next 50 years. They've structured a lot of things internally to make sure that every external aggression will have no impact on Germany. And I can tell you that there's also a very wide door that has been opened for international students in terms of career. There's a gap in the labor market now. There are so many jobs in Germany, and there are fewer people to take up those jobs. And that's why I would encourage students to come and study, acquire the degree. You will be able to gain the language experience. You also gain the cultural experience that would make you fit perfectly into any job role in Germany. I also am not a German, you can see. I migrated to Germany many years ago. I studied there, and I was able to get something perfectly for myself. So I will encourage people, because the skills, the training, the education you acquire, it's of high standard.
Mrs. Doris Chitson, you've been running the OVEC for a number of years now, and what, according to you, has been the trend regarding tertiary education? What countries top the list?
Well, the trend keeps changing every year. It's been 20 years I've been in this business, I would say, and now Canada tops everything. You've got Canada and then Australia. Why? Because those two countries offer the Mauritians work options, work permits. Like in Canada, you've got 3 years work permit after your studies, plus the permanent residence is nearly automatic. And then you've got Australia, you've got 2 years work permit after your studies, and then the permanent residence is on a case-to-case basis, depending on the priority list, but most of my students have managed to stay there. I don't say Mauritians should go there, but they've got the options of coming back home with money and experience and develop further Mauritius. That's a great thing for Mauritius.
Mm-hmm. And we used to believe that UK once was the top destination. What has happened?
Yeah, it used to be. because we've all done British education, Cambridge exams, but the problem is a few years back now that UK has stopped the 2 years work permit that it gave to Mauritians. So the parents think that investing so much to go there and then you're sent back home soon afterwards, you don't have work opportunities, and so they prefer to go elsewhere to those 2 other countries I've just mentioned, where they also got the option of getting the permanent residency and jobs, of course.
But that's it for this edition of Business Connect. Find this program on our website and also follow us on our Facebook page. We'll see you next time. Till then, goodbye from the whole team of Business Connect.